Emma thought she'd finally found her happily ever after, a handsome CEO, a lavish wedding, and a dream honeymoon in Paris. But on their first night, her husband dropped a bombshell. He had no attraction to women, and had only married her to keep up appearances in their conservative community. Trapped in a loveless marriage with shocking twists, Emma felt stuck in a life that wasn't hers. When she met Jake, the man who offered her hope, things took an even darker turn. Faced with impossible choices, Emma had to find a way to break free from the lies and betrayals that threatened to destroy her life. Before we get into the story today, don't forget to subscribe for more. Emma was a woman who never felt beautiful. She saw herself as plain, just an ordinary woman. Out of all her siblings, she was the only one who hadn't managed to get married, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Emma desperately wanted to leave her parents' home and have a place of her own, a place to share her life with someone special. In her conservative community, whispers started to spread that Emma was getting older. She was only 30, but to them, she was becoming an old maid, someone who had been left on the shelf. Emma couldn't stand the pity in their eyes. Her younger sisters woke up each morning to homes filled with children and laughter, while she felt stuck in a lonely life. On this particular day, Emma's life was about to change. Emma woke up like it was any other day, got dressed, and went to her job as a secretary for one of the directors at a large company. That morning, she was asked to deliver important documents to the company's founder. Nervously, she knocked on the door of the penthouse office. She'd never been up there before. A stern secretary opened the door and eyed her with clear annoyance. "What do you want? No one's expected. Do you have an appointment?" she snapped. Feeling small, Emma replied, "No, I don't, but my boss needs your boss's signature on these papers." The secretary took the documents reluctantly and told Emma to leave, saying the boss was busy. But Emma insisted on waiting. She had to get that signature. As they argued, the boss, Mark, appeared from his office. Calmly, he told his secretary to let Emma in. She followed him inside, feeling the weight of the documents in her hands. Mark was handsome, surprisingly young to be the CEO of such a big company. Emma's shock must have shown on her face because Mark smiled and said, "I know what you're thinking, but a good skincare routine works wonders." Emma, flustered, handed him the papers. Mark's confidence and charm were intimidating. Still, he tried to put her at ease with jokes as he signed the documents. Emma quickly left, but she couldn't get Mark out of her mind. Just as she was about to leave work that evening, her phone rang. It was Mark, apologizing for his secretary's rudeness. Emma was stunned. Why would such an important man care about how she felt? She wasn't under any illusion. She knew she wasn't the prettiest or the youngest woman at work. But Mark's charm made her feel special. For weeks they continued to talk, and then one day, Mark surprised Emma by coming down to her office to ask her out for lunch. She could hardly think straight. Mark, the busy and handsome CEO, was interested in her. Trying to keep cool, she agreed. During lunch, Mark was funny, charming, and made Emma feel like she was the only woman in the world. Emma fell hard for him, and it seemed like Mark felt the same, though he was hard to read. Their relationship grew quickly. One night during a memorable dinner, Mark proposed. Emma was thrilled. While Emma was ecstatic, she couldn't help but wonder what her loved ones and the cynics would make of this surprising turn of events. Emma felt she found the perfect match among all the spouses of her sisters. Mark had the full package: good looks, prestige, power, and money. What more could she possibly ask for? Mark met Emma's family, and they were overjoyed, especially her parents, who couldn't believe how Emma had attracted such an eligible man. With all the available women in town, Emma's parents couldn't believe she had snagged this man. They couldn't wait for the wedding to take place before he changed his mind. They couldn't fathom what this man saw in their plain old daughter. They were afraid he had an ulterior motive. Little did they know how close they were to the truth. Nevertheless, Mark planned a lavish wedding, followed by a honeymoon in Paris, Emma's dream city. He also arranged for them to live in a grand villa with separate bedrooms, walk-in closets, and every luxury Emma could imagine. The wedding day came, and it was perfect. They flew straight to Paris, where they were welcomed into the most luxurious hotel and shown to a stunning honeymoon suite. Emma, who had come from a modest background, was amazed at the level of luxury. She was determined to enjoy every moment. Mark suggested they freshen up and head out for a special dinner he had planned with a famous chef. Emma found it strange. They were on their honeymoon. Shouldn't they stay in, spend time together, and get to know each other more intimately? But she shrugged it off and got dressed. The evening was perfect. Mark knew Paris inside out, guiding Emma through the city's charms. But when they returned to the suite, Mark's mood suddenly darkened. He seemed distant, as if something was bothering him. Emma asked if she'd done something wrong, but Mark insisted he was just tired. Emma went to freshen up and suggested Mark do the same. He hesitated, looking like he wanted to say something but didn't. When Emma settled into bed waiting for Mark, but when Mark emerged from the bathroom, he was wearing women's lingerie from head to toe. Emma was horrified. Why was he dressed like that? Mark sat beside her, his face tense. Emma, I've been hiding something. I know this is a shock to you, and I have been trying to find the courage to tell you. You see, I'm not like most men. I don't feel attracted to women at all. I feel nothing and I can't explain it to my family or colleagues. It was clear to me that you were approaching 30, and your prospect of marriage looked distant. Let's face it, you didn't exactly have men clamoring for you. Your possibilities for marriage seemed slim. I thought we could help each other. You get the husband you always wanted, and I get the respectability I need. We'll live as a couple in public, but privately, we'll live separate lives. Emma was speechless and felt like she was groomed from the get-go. But why the lingerie? She stammered, not knowing anything else to say. Mark shrugged. It makes me feel good. Most people wouldn't understand, but you're my wife, and I don't want secrets between us. With that, Mark left Emma alone in the bedroom, choosing to sleep in the guest room. Emma was devastated. This wasn't the life she'd dreamed of. She spent the rest of the honeymoon alone, refusing to see the sights or enjoy the city. Mark tried to explain his actions, but Emma couldn't forgive his deception. When she showed no sign of softening, Mark resorted to threats, saying that if she ever exposed his secret or tried to leave, he would ruin her reputation and destroy her life by any means necessary. Back home, Emma was forced to pretend everything was fine. She played the part of the happy wife, but inside, she was trapped. Mark gave her the option to work or stay home, and Emma chose to stay, feeling like a prisoner. Living a lie was one thing, but being denied the right to be a mother was completely different. Because becoming a mother had always been her greatest desire, she realized that it was not possible in this marriage. In her mind, she was now a prisoner from which there was no way out. About every 3 months or so, Emma would beg Mark to let her go, saying that she will die with his secret. Because his life was exactly how he imagined it, Mark would refuse to budge. Besides, he constantly reminded her that she would still be living with her parents and working as a lousy secretary if it was not for him. So, in some ways, he believed that she should be grateful. Though Emma made it known that at least there would have been a possibility for her to meet someone and eventually become a mother. After waiting 2 years, Emma made the decision to enter the workforce, but she would not work for her husband. She made an application to work for another company in the city. She got the job and finally felt free to leave the villa and focus on something other than her situation. After 6 months, she befriended one of her co-workers, Jake. Jake was clearly a wonderful listener and a generous soul. It was a pleasure to finally have someone to talk to about her problems, and Emma unconsciously let out all her troubles. Jake felt terrible for Emma and was furious about the way she was treated. He thought her husband was heartless and self-centered. Talking to Mark about how he treated Emma badly was something he was seriously considering. Emma, though, wished to prevent things from getting worse. Her only request to Jake was to be there for her. He gladly obliged. Emma and Jake finally admitted to each other a few months later that their relationship went beyond friendship, though they were unsure about what to do about it. Emma was a single woman in her mind, and she felt free to start this relationship in her ultimate objective of breaking free from Mark and becoming a mother. Emma arrived home from work one day and noticed her husband Mark speaking with another man as she entered the kitchen. As she approached, blood drained from her face. That guy was Jake. Jake, her best friend, confidant and love, was deep in conversation with her husband. When Mark saw his wife enter the room, he didn't miss a beat. "Do you know Jake?" "Emma, I'm sure you do. He had the good grace to be here on your behalf, but I made him an offer, which he couldn't refuse." Emma needed to sit down because the shock was too much for her. She inquired calmly about the proposal. Mark enthusiastically informed Emma that he had decided to divorce her, but not before she slept with Jake and became pregnant. After Emma gives birth to a son, Mark will be given the baby as a gift by Jake and Emma. Mark will raise the young boy as his own and will, in due time, inherit him. Emma was dumbfounded. "What if my firstborn is a girl?" she questioned with astonishment. Mark responded, "If it's a girl, you will keep trying until you and Jake have a baby boy." Mark took great pride to have come up with this brilliant arrangement. To the outside world, he and Emma will have a baby, but Jake will be the biological father. Once Mark receives his newborn son, he will divorce Emma, freeing her to marry Jake. Emma was sick to her stomach. She turned to Jake for sanity, but he was just happy and enthusiastic. Emma questioned Jake. "What do you get out of this?" Jake answered, "Mark assured me that he would set us up for life. We will be financially secure for the rest of our lives if we keep his secret and do not claim his son. I believe it is a reasonable request, don't you?" The only thing Emma could do was nod. The fact that Jake could be bought so easily devastated her. Nonetheless, she accepted. Mark and Jake were bracing themselves for Emma to raise an objection, but they were relieved that their idea was starting to take shape. Emma proposed that, given the circumstances, she wants everything to be perfect. It was crucial for her to have Mark there at the house when she did the deed with Jake. She also wanted Mark's plan in writing, stating that if she sleeps with Jake and conceives, she is free to leave after she hands over her baby son to Mark. Mark was so delusional and eager that he decided to walk into his office and draw up the contract. Jack could not contain his delight at getting the girl and the money. He was too short-sighted. After Mark signed the contract with Emma and Jack, who also chose to give his baby away, Emma requested that she stay in a hotel for the weekend to mentally prepare for the ordeal. Saturday morning arrived, and it was the day Jack, Mark, and Emma had waited for. Upon returning to her marital home, Emma proceeded to the restroom to grab a quick shower and prepare herself ready for what was ahead. She asked Mark to accompany Jack to the guest room so he could settle in. After what seemed like an eternity, Emma entered the room, dressed entirely in the pricey underwear that Mark had chosen for her. As she walked into the guest room, Mark was closing the door behind him. At the door, there was a loud bang. At the villa's main home, men in police uniforms stormed in search of a woman who was a victim of human trafficking. Mark became enraged with the cops, raiding his home and making unfounded claims. The cops wanted to know if anyone was holding a woman against her will. Mark denied it, saying there was only the lady of the house, and she was occupied. After that, the cops insisted they talk to her right away. Mark suggested that they stay in the living area, but the cops followed him to the guest room, where Emma sat next to Jack in their underpants. The cops asked Mark if she was his wife, to which he said, "Absolutely, and that they are all consenting adults doing whatever they want." Afterwards, the cops questioned Emma. "Are you all right? Are you giving your approval for this?" "No, I am not," Emma responded. "I am being compelled to do this by both men. I have evidence that they want me to bear and give birth to their children in order for me to be free." That was the only thing the cops needed to hear. Mark and Jack were handcuffed and taken to the station. In his enraged state, Mark accused Emma of betraying him. He threatened her that she would regret this and will pay dearly. With a brief request, Emma asked the police to speak with Mark. She approached him and whispered in his ear, "I have images and conversations about your depravity. If you challenge my divorce and claim I stole from you, all of that information will be revealed. I have nothing to lose. What about you?" He then became silent. Mark made the wise decision to divorce Emma and give her half of his riches. By some miracle, Emma found herself suddenly rich and free. Her dreams of becoming a mother and finding true love have not faded, although she was willing to take her time learning to trust again. Yet now, Emma's heart brimmed with a quiet joy, for the flame of hope flickered once more within her. The dream of motherhood, once distant and fragile, had found new life.